What's up, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this, I want to give you guys a very important warning about NIO in the markets because of the setups we're seeing so far and how they may end up panning out. Just know that I'm not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link that's down below or use my QR code right here to sign up. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below and deposit $100, you're going to get $20 for free NVIDIA stock. If you deposit $2,000 or more, you're going to get $50 worth of NVIDIA plus a $100 cash reward. Deposits $10,000 or more to get $300 worth of NVIDIA plus $100, or deposit $50,000 more to get $1,000 of free NVIDIA stock plus $100. You're also going to qualify for an 8.1% APY on invested cash, and the offer ends very soon. So please use my link down below to sign up. Anyways, as far as NIO and the market are going, I just want to mention that we have a head and shoulders like pattern that has been developing on NIO, and we need to see this basically break past 7.2 to start trying to invalidate this. If we can't get back above that, there is going to be a risk of us dipping to like 6.5 or below, so you want to be very careful. This is despite the fact that NIO's very important LiDAR supplier, even after it got its Hong Kong stock listing approval, so that was some good news that just came out. But despite all of that, there still has been some, once again, negative price action, at least for NIO, and the market did try to bounce only to see another rejection. Mizuho also gave the market a more neutral rating alongside NIO. The price price ratio is also kind of like dipping on NIO. It shows it's not really showing as much strength as before. And keep in mind, October tends to be green only about 38% of the time, which once again solidifies the view that there might be some more downside. The ET5 is also getting a lot of attention. President Trump came out and he said on Wednesday that India is basically not going to be buying Russian oil, and he said he wants to see the same thing from China. He also went on about how negotiations will continue between the US and China, but there wasn't really anything too significant that President Trump said just yet. The US Senate also failed to advance a House passed short term spending bill for the ninth time as the government shutdown continues to loom. Not the best of news, at least for now. Not really affecting the market too much. There's also just a bunch of Fed speakers tomorrow, not really much data. And also the PPI data is going to be delayed. I believe that's not coming out tomorrow, once again, because of the government shutdown. So for now, the market's still holding up decently. TSMC also has earnings for tomorrow, so we'll see what that leads to. So as far as NIO is going, there's a bit of a downtrend here. We got this big rejection. Since then, we've been making lower highs. Unless we get back above 7.2, I do see us consolidating between 7 and 6.8 for now. But then there's going to be a risk of us tipping towards 6.5 or below, so you want to be very, very careful with this larger head and shoulders. I also want to add on that we have a potential left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder forming here. And if this rejects, we could once again be looking for a much larger move right back down. So you want to be very, very careful if this does end up panning out. So 665 is going to be our main support right here. If we lose that, we could be dumping back down towards these lows. But if we bounce off that, you want to see us basically get back above 670 to be bullish. So if we break 670, we could be looking for an attempt to get back up to these highs. If we lose 665, there's going to be a risk of us rejecting and dipping. There is a rising wedge here, so you want to be very, very careful. So I want to give you guys a warning about this. If this is a large head and shoulders, there is a chance that SPY consolidates and possibly gets a rejection, but we have to wait for confirmation just to be safe. Same thing with the triple Q. Now, the triple Q is bouncing so far. When we look at this trend, we're making higher lows. We're also trying to rebound. But like I said before, we have to be very careful with this potential rising wedge and also potential left shoulder, head and right shoulder. If we continue to break past 607, we could continue to push for the all-time high. But if we lose around this 601 area, there's going to be a risk of us turning back down, and that could lead us to once again retesting essentially the 595 area. So be very careful. The IWM is doing well here. We have 252 as our resistance and 250 is our main support. If that fails us, we're looking for 246. So because we formed a wick here, we could kind of bounce and reject. So we'll see if that ends up being the case. On ES, we're going to see, is this going to be some kind of like head and shoulders, or do we just bounce for all-time highs? If we break 6750, we could be looking for all-time highs, but if we reject, I'm watching to see if this head and shoulders pans out and takes us right back down towards 6600 or below. On NQ, we have a left shoulder, head and then a right shoulder. If we reject off 25,000, we're looking for a dip back down to 24,630. But if we end up breaking 25,000, we're looking for a push back up. So looking at what we're seeing, at least for now, there's a head and shoulders right here, and that could also lead to some downside. So be careful at 25,000, see if we turn back down or not from right there. On Bitcoin, we're making lower highs, as you guys can see. We're going to see if we end up reclaiming essentially 114,000. If not, there's going to be a risk of us dipping to about 108,000. So be very mindful of that. Tesla, however, is trying to bounce here, but we're going to see, is the head and shoulders still going to pan out? Because don't forget, Tesla still has a gap at 414 and 395. Or is Tesla going to be forming an inverse head and shoulders breakout to continue to pump right back up towards 450? There's two setups right now. I do think Tesla might try to pop again for 440, but I would warn you to be very careful because every time we've popped, we just got rejected on Tesla, and we're going to see if we turn back down to fill some gaps. Also on Nvidia, we've been making lower highs here. We're trying to bounce near 177, so we could see a small bounce move tomorrow morning. But notice that even though Nvidia tried to bounce, it got a rejection again, which is not the best of signs, which does imply that we could kind of pump a bit and then turn back down to 177. Apple's on a bit of a downtrend. We could retest 251, then we'll see if we turn back down towards 244. So give that the time it needs. For other tickers, we have Palantir, which is technically on a bit of a downtrend. We're going to see if we hold 179. If not, we could pop and continue to fall for 173. On AMD, we're pushing near all-time highs, but here's the thing: we might be retesting this resistance at 245. If we break this, we could continue to break out for the 250s, but if we reject here, we could turn back down towards 222. For now, it still looks more bullish, and it looks like it's going to retest the high, and we'll see if it breaks it or not. Coinbase is on a bit of a downtrend, but the question is, are we just downtrending, or is this about to form some kind of like wedge? We will see what's about to happen, so be very, very patient. We're going to see if we could bounce off 325 or not, so give this the time it needs. Amazon's also forming like a triple bottom here, so it might try to bounce for 218. Meta could also retest 722, and we'll see if this bounces or not. We have a nice looking double bottom. Google is trying to break out right here. However, there is a rising wedge though, so I'm in the middle with Google. We're going to see if this continues to run. It is bullish for now, favoring 256 or above. But even if it does go higher, I would warn you to be very careful if we are forming some kind of like rising wedge. And we could be looking for resistance at 252, and we'll see if we end up turning or not. Microsoft, however, is looking weaker. It could be retesting 510. We're going to see if it holds. If not, we could be retesting these lows. The VIX is also in the middle. Notice how it's range bound. We don't have a true defined direction yet. So we're going to see if we lose the 19s or if we break past 22. So watch to see if we break 22 or not, and be very, very patient at least nonetheless. With that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. I think we're doing a good job at holding up. The market might try to bounce a little bit tomorrow, but then be careful. We need to see if 670 breaks on SPY. If we can't break that, we're watching 665 as the main support. May pop a bit, then turn back down, but be careful in case this is like a head and shoulders. This could be the chance that the market's about to pivot. And the NIO could retest $7 tomorrow, but be careful because we're just shopping between 7 and 6.8. Might pop for 7, then turn back down lower as we have a head and shoulders forming. So be very careful. Thank you all so much for listening, and peace out.